Hey everyone, sorry about that. I got your messages. We hadn't turned on our microphone here, so thank you so much for your patience. You might recognize me. My name is Abby. I have been the host of previous webinars if you've ever attended one. We're here today with Harrison Tyner, the founder of Wecounsel. How are you doing?
Well, Abby, and hello everyone. Thank you for taking time out of your day to be on this webinar. I really look forward to having a great conversation with you all today and learn more about you and hopefully vice versa.
Awesome. So we will be recording this webinar and sending out a copy with the follow-up email, just thanking you for your participation, and we'll give you a copy of the recording. In addition to that, we're at the end, after Harrison and I are done kind of presenting our piece, we're going to open it up so that you can give your feedback, ask any questions that you may have. The purpose of this webinar today is just to learn a little bit more about Harrison, why he started the company, what's new, what's coming up, things to look forward to, and also get all of your feedback. We're really excited, and we're going to go ahead and get started. Harrison, I think the first thing that everyone wants to know is, why did you start Wecounsel? What was the impetus behind the idea for the product, and you know, how has it evolved over time?
Yeah, sure. We founded Wecounsel in 2011, so it was about 6 years ago. We had been conceptualizing it even before that. But as a matter of fact, I was still in college at the time. It was one of those startup stories where you founded a startup out of the dorm room, and that was very much the case. I was studying business with a double major in finance and operations, and I had always known that I wanted to do something entrepreneurial, and start something myself. The idea of online therapy was really interesting to me, and it resonated because of a personal experience that you know, one of my family members went through about 10 or 11 years ago. I had a sister that went through a very traumatic event, ended up going to an inpatient treatment facility in Arizona, and she had a great experience there, spent 5 weeks. We went out there and visited, and she underwent treatment via a specialized version of cognitive behavioral therapy. So she came back, but wanted to continue with treatment with someone trained at that same facility. And here in the Southeast, that was just few and far between. And so we went through a pretty exhaustive search as a family to find the right therapist. And that ended up actually being in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. And that's southern rural Mississippi in the Delta, and really not a place that, you know, anyone would think to move to or live if you're not from there. But nonetheless, she moved down there primarily to receive face-to-face treatment from that provider. She ended up going to school. She's a nurse now. She's successful and having a great life. But at the time, it really vexed me and my family as to why there wasn't a tool readily available to connect her to the care that she needed. And you know, so as I was thinking, what do I want to focus my time on? What's a problem that, you know, is really worth spending time on? I thought, you know, that really hit the nail on the head for me. And as I started to do more diligence into the industry of telemedicine, and even more so the issue that we experience nationally is a lack of access to behavioral health care. It's a really pronounced issue that the majority of families experience in one way, shape, or form, whether through a loved one, family member, or friend. And so it really does become a challenge to receive the care that folks need in a timely manner, in an effective manner. And telemedicine is, you know, often brought up as a solution to some of those national behavioral issues that we're dealing with, like opioid epidemics, an aging baby boomer population that needs treatment. How are we going to deliver care to our veterans? You know, more than half of the counties in the United States are in designated rural areas, how do we get access to specialists? And so, the impetus came out of that experience, and we really ran with it. I worked kind of part-time while still in school, developing out the business model, doing diligence in the industry, talking to providers, discussing the viability of that, and landed ourselves into an accelerator program here in Chattanooga, Tennessee, which is where the company is located, and that's actually where I'm from. I'm native here, and it's a very wonderful entrepreneurial community that we were able to leverage and take advantage of. We went through a program called the Company Lab and really started to develop the business at a foundational level, and organically grew the company from there. And that was around 2013 in January. And so we really kind of rode the coattails of that program. We graduated from that and jumped straight into another kind of bigger program, accelerator program called the Gig Tank, and that was later in the summer of that same year. And all the while, we had begun developing a minimum viable product that we could start to pilot and then take to market. And so, we were very serendipitous in a number of stages as the company grew. At the end of that summer, we did have that minimum viable product. We had our first pilot partner, who remains a client of ours to this day, called Insight Telepsychiatry. And then we also recruited our first significant investment round as well, which allowed us to really build out the team and I think legitimately call ourselves a functional business. And so we released our first version of the software in November of 2013. And so we were a team of 4 or 5 at that time, and we started to grow the company from there. 2014 was really all about learning and proof of concepts and different verticals that we were trying to pursue, from individuals and private practice, much like probably many of you, to other enterprise-oriented telemedicine service provider concepts. And we had successes, we had failures, we learned a lot. And then in 2015, we started to hit our stride and really started to grow our numbers and utilization, the software starting to mature more, which led into another significant investment round. Wecounsel is a venture-backed company, and so what that means is we have several financial institutions that really believe in the concept of Wecounsel and in the team. They came in as partners in 2016 in April, and we were able to really turbo grow our operation. We went from 5 employees to 15. We started to explore new verticals in the industry itself and really start to take the product to the next level, as I'm sure many of you have seen if you've been with us for longer than 6 months. So, and then here we are today. We have a lot of exciting stuff going on. From the recent directory release, we just released our first iOS app, first version of that, and several other things that are coming down the queue. And it's been quite a journey for me as a founder to see all that, to see our team. I think our team is probably one of the best. Really grateful for them, and it's special to see other people take ownership in a product and a business as if it was their own. And now I'm able to share Wecounsel in a special way with people that care about our mission, care about you and your clients, and making sure that you have a significant value out of your use of Wecounsel. And at the end of the day, that's our goal. We in any given month are facilitating between 4,000 and 5,000 sessions, and that continues to grow each day and each week. So we really look forward to the future, and we're really glad that you're joining us in that journey.
That's awesome, Harrison. Thanks. You guys, if you have questions, as you think of them, go ahead and chat them into the question pane in your GoToMeeting window. As we have time and we're able to, we'll go through every single person's question. If it's just feedback, if you'd just like to say something, this is your opportunity to share your thoughts and give your feedback and also get your questions answered. While we're waiting on you to formulate some questions and feedback and type those in, we're going to talk to Harrison a little bit more, but as we start getting those rolling in, I'll read them off to Harrison so he can address them individually. Harrison, you mentioned the mission of Wecounsel. What exactly is Wecounsel's mission? And, you know, in addition to that, what are our core values? And how do you feel like the team here embodies those core values?
Sure. Well, let's start with the mission. And at this point, you guys get the gist. It's at a fundamental level to increase access to care, to behavioral health care through technology. And that's us providing the tools necessary to facilitate meaningful interactions between providers and their clients online and in a secure environment. And so, you know, that's what, you know, fundamentally drives us and guides the product as we build it. But around that concept, that mission, we do have several maxims that, you know, we've instilled in the company culture, and we try to pervade as much as possible in our work. The first and foremost maxim is integrity and goodwill above all. I think it's really important to make sure that we don't lose sight of those things. This is a business, but for me, it's always been very important to maintain integrity and straightforwardness in everything that we do and how we interact with our clients and the experiences that we bring to them and the decisions that we make at the end of the day. So there's a certain ethos that we try to maintain with respect to that and everything we do. So that's the first one. The next two kind of go hand in hand, and it's experience is everything and always be delighting. And so, you know, experience takes on, you know, many meanings. Typically, we would associate that with the user experience. Your experience as a provider, your client's experience using the application as well. So, you know, whenever we go to implement a new feature or new capability or update something that's already been there, you know, the experience of that is really what makes and breaks the company. And we really put a lot of emphasis on that from a product standpoint. Go through a pretty intensive process in how we decide what we're working on, how we're working on it, what it eventually is going to be like for the end users. Haley, our product manager, is pretty much the focal point in that. She takes the input that Abby receives from you all, which it goes noted. We don't just throw your suggestions into a trash can. We document them thoroughly. Abby takes back the major trends and asks that come from their conversations with you. Same thing goes for Blythe, our enterprise account manager, for some of our larger organizations. And we feed those, we'll call them tributaries, into the main channel of our product development pipeline. And so it's, I guess before we even do that, we also really want to sit and have direct communication lines with the users themselves. I just mentioned one way that we do that. This is another way. And it's not a maxim, but communication with our users feeds directly into the experience is everything mantra and how we are able to delight folks. And so this is one of the reasons that I'm sitting in front of the camera today. We also do focus groups on an every other month basis and send out numerous surveys that correlate to, you know, whatever it is we may be working on. I'm sure many of you have seen those. So your input from a variety of different channels is disseminated into what is ultimately the product queue. And it's a really sprawling, ever-changing thing But at the end of the day, we hope that the end product is something that is of value and fruitful for users that are providers and patients. But experience goes beyond the product as well, which we put a huge emphasis on the success team. Abby has done an amazing job leading the success team. You might have spoken with Justin and Chris as well. That experience. I mean, this is the front lines. Whenever you call in or email in, these are the guys that are taking care of you, answering your questions. We set strict guidelines in how we communicate, how frequently, and how fast we respond. And hopefully you all have had good experiences with that. And I think that's where we can mark ourselves really high. And that's always been a huge focal point. If you're not having a good experience or good communication, then it's just not going to work. And we want to find ways to delight you. We ultimately want to call new users when they sign up for a free trial within 10 minutes of them signing up. Let them know that they're front of mind for us and to answer any questions that they might have. Giving you as many support tools and resource tools as we can possibly give to you, which would be a resource center, or maybe it's the WalkMe tool set, or any supporting documentation within that. We want to make this as easy as possible for you and delight you around every corner. And so that's what we strive to do.
So you mentioned the product pipeline, how we develop new features. Why don't you give everyone a sneak peek about the new features that we have coming up soon? I think people will be really excited to hear about that.
Sure. Well, we did release, I'll start with what we've already released recently, just as a reminder. So we did just release the directory, which is a free value-added service that we provide to all of our subscribers. And hopefully that generates meaningful client referrals over time. And we want that to help increase relevancy in the software for you as much as possible, increase value for you in the software as much as possible, and give you as many reasons as we can to keep you coming back every day. The app, really excited about the video. The app for iOS, which is our first native app. It's version 1 where you can schedule, have a video session, check in and have a video session. So it's the fundamental use case. For Wecounsel, it's going to be an extremely improved experience over the video plugin that we've used for mobile in the past. And so we've been working on that for the past 3 or 4 months. Really excited that we were able to release that. A couple of other things that are coming down the line. Everyone's probably been asking about calendar integration. That's in testing right now with our Google Calendar integration, so that's going to sync up with any of you that use Google Calendar. Text notifications as well, which will behave very similarly to email notifications. You'll see that setting appear in your account settings here in the near future, probably in a couple of weeks. Mm-hmm. And then I think outside of necessarily new functionality, we're really focusing on trying to improve what's already there at the same time. So a lot of the functionality there is maybe a version 1 or a version 2 that we initially put in place, and now we're circling back to it to try to create it, basically release a new, refined experience around things like the messaging tool, how to start a session, a video session. We're going to be making enhancements to how you store, send, and receive documents, and especially how you can use customizable forms and e-sign, and also a few iterations to how we can take, store notes, and update the client file generally. So I think we're going to enter a realm of maturity with the products with a few of those key features that are really going to hopefully delight you.
We hope so. So it looks like we have some questions pouring in here. Would love to get all of your questions and feedback. So we're going to go ahead and start answering them, and we will be answering questions for the rest of our time today until you guys stop sending them. So just keep them coming. First question here is from Robert, and he's asking, does the system provide any support when either a therapist or patient is late for an appointment? So Robert, that's an interesting question. I'm wondering what you might mean by that. Does the system provide any support when either a therapist or patient is late for an appointment? Well, Harrison, I think I can probably help answer some of that for you, and then maybe Harrison can add on. But when someone checks in for an appointment, whether it's a client or a therapist, the other person is going to get a notification letting them know that that person is waiting for them. And that's only going to be enhanced with our text message notification. So very, very soon here, it will be at your fingertips letting you know, hey, you have a session right now and the other person is waiting for you, so hurry up and check in. If your question is something different than that, let me know. But Harrison, do you have anything to add to that?
I think that was good.
Okay, great. Leslie would like to know, does Harrison have any insight into the glacial pace of getting in the IPAC credentialing to allow psychologists to practice across state lines? Still, only 3 states have ratified it and needs 7 just to begin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know, unfortunately, this is going to be a slow burn as interstate regulation normally is. Compact licensure is, you know, one of the long-term goals, especially in the telemedicine industry for what we do, and continues to be a barrier today. You know, as far as where that stands currently, it seems like you know, you may have a little bit more insight in that than me, but I think that's a really great initiative for us to follow up on in a subsequent webinar. Mm-hmm. I think, you know, the last that I heard was that this is a work in progress that's probably a few years in the making. And, you know, unfortunately, I think there's a lot of headwind from different types of stakeholders, like state boards that are trying to stay relevant. What does this mean for them? There are ways to, I know this isn't the best answer, but there are ways to expedite licensure in other states if you find that it's financially viable. Mm-hmm. And if that's of interest, we can provide a resource for you to do that. Until then, clinical counseling across state lines and in states in which you do not have a license continues to be a barrier. But if you are offering any other types of non-clinical services like coaching, perhaps, mm-hmm. that is completely valid across all 50 states.
We have people that list themselves for emotional coaching in all 50 states, life coaching. Obviously, your clinical pieces there, you're going to have to be licensed in the states that you are seeing the residents in or seeing clients in. But there was recently, and the House is voting on right now, some legislation that might open up licensure to all 50 states for registered nurses. So that's a positive step in the right direction. It shows that our federal government is paying attention to the need across the board in healthcare. And hopefully behavioral therapists, behavioral practitioners of all kinds will have that same opportunity very, very soon. Next question, Ruth would like to know, what about iCal? So we've got the Google Calendar integration. What about the iCal integration?
So next on the integration pipeline for calendar is going to be Outlook and then iCal. That's based off feedback that we've gotten from our providers that have taken our surveys and you know, where they view their priorities. And so apparently we have a lot of folks that like to use Outlook, and so that's going to come first, and then iCal, and that'll be a progression over the next probably Q3, Q4, and so we'll keep you updated as far as calendar updates go.
But we haven't forgotten about you, iCal users. It's coming. Jason would like to know, at the last customer feedback session, several users asked for better admin tools and true administrator access for admin accounts. Is that a priority for Wecounsel? It's a great question.
Yeah, it is. Like, I think that the problem is managing the bandwidth of our development team. We do have 7 in-house developers, and we're working on all sorts of things that are high priority for us. We have had several meetings about enhanced administrator tools. We do have a 2.0 enterprise dashboard that is in the product queue. It's going to be started within the next 2 to 3 months, and it'll include a UI revamp of our administrative dashboard, including increased functions and permission points for some folks that may need that type of administrative sharing. So it's not going to roll out tomorrow, but it is on our radar. It is a priority. It's just that we're managing that in the product pipeline at this point.
And Jason, as a clarification, I think he's saying by admin tools, he means notifications for appointments, basically the ability for the admin to see and do anything the other roles on the platform can do. And Jason, I believe as an enterprise client, you know that we have a separation kind of between enterprise and private practice. The admin on the professional side in our private practice plans have a little bit different capability than what you guys would have. And I think Harrison kind of addressed how we're going to be taking on that enterprise admin role and helping you out with that. Next question is from Debbie, and Debbie would like to know, how is the directory being marketed? Do you know the stats as to how many clients are coming in from the directory versus therapists using their current caseload? Well, Debbie, let me start off by saying that's an amazing question, and Harrison could probably explain how we're marketing the directory, but I can tell you that in the first 6 weeks of being live, we've already gotten over 200 requests from clients, and that of all the practitioners that are signed up for the directory, we've had half of a referral per practitioner. So that means that every single person has got at least a half of a referral, right? So some people have gotten a couple, and some people have gotten none, and that evens out to about a half of a client referral per person. And we only hope to make that number go up. Our goal is to give you as many client referrals as possible. Harrison, you want to talk about how we're doing that?
Yeah, I do. And I think the first thing that I want to say is that the directory was released on June 1st, and our first priority, candidly, was to get our providers into the directory, to have completed listings, and to recruit them before we could recruit, potential client referrals. So that has been in the purview of our focus over the last 6 to 8 weeks. It's like the chicken or the egg story. We actually released the directory in 2014, as a matter of fact. It was a little premature, and we could never get it to work just right because we never had a critical mass of providers, and we couldn't justify marketing it to the consumers because we didn't have the coverage in the areas that we needed. And so, learning from that experience, we said, all right, we're going to make our priorities known, that we're going to focus on the provider first and get them in, and then once we have coverage in the adequate areas and then the adequate specialties that we're targeting, we're going to gradually ramp up our marketing efforts towards consumers. So this is something that's a work in progress. And as far as how we market it, we are opening up different channels and campaigns over time. So right now, we have one campaign running via paid advertisement. So this is money that we're spending as a company to generate client referrals for you. But across the mediums, as we continue on, we're going to open up campaigns with other channel partners on social media, and that's likely paid or through a synergy or relationship that we've developed. And then we're opening it up to a number of other consumer-oriented websites and partners as a referral source, and developing those channel partners to create clear funnels of consumers that are seeking treatment, for behavioral health, and funneling them over to Wecounsel. So we have a few really, really exciting partnerships that we're not quite ready to unveil yet, but the answer to your question is we're going to turn the knob or the faucet on that up slowly over time, and we really appreciate your patience as we do that. We just want to make sure we do it right.
Absolutely. And one of the first things that we did was index all of your profiles in Google. So you can be searchable by anybody who's organically searching for a counselor with any of the words that are on your page, right? So Google is going to crawl your page, and they're going to see, oh, psychotherapy, cognitive behavioral therapy, and I'm in the state of Massachusetts. And anybody searching for those kind of things in the state of Massachusetts, you're going to pop up, and you're going to be found by that client. In addition to that, we've got paid advertisements on Google, on Facebook. We're paying for advertisements where your consumers are searching. So we're going to keep pushing until we're sending you tons of referrals. So we're just bear with us and give us your feedback as we go along. We want to hear how your experience is going. We're going to hear about how your referrals are coming along. We want to hear if you've been successful. So email me, call me, let me know. Next question here is from Leslie. Have to be careful if licensed, though. Can still be prosecuted even if you call yourself a coach. Yeah, that's true. That's true, Leslie, and I think that's a very fine line there. Hopefully we get the licensure in all 50 states, the federally recognized licensure, very, very soon. We're pushing for it as well. Shauna, oop, this is a long one. Okay, so are you saying that we cannot be connected to clients who list themselves in another state if we aren't licensed in that state, even if they choose to work with me anyway? The vast majority of my existing clients are in other states and countries. Is this something that Wecounsel is stepping in to prevent? I don't understand your comments about this. Is this just in relation to the directory?
Yeah, so it is important to know that from a regulatory standpoint for most, if not all, behavioral licensure, the general rule of thumb is that you need to be licensed in the state in which your patient or client resides. Otherwise, you fall outside of the jurisdiction of your licensure, and that's a liability that and risk that each individual is going to need to assess for their own practice. We recommend against doing that. We try to always be on the safer side of that. Now, we encourage same-state interactions through the software. Mm-hmm. We don't logically prevent someone from a different state finding a provider in another state. That's not something that's going to be 100% prevented in the software, but the user experience that we've created is conducive to same-state licensure and pairing appropriate clients and patients accordingly. And so, if you have any further questions on that offline, we're happy to assist. That's one of the other things that we try to do is be a leader in the industry and help you understand regulation. It's not typically just telemedicine. In this instance of interstate licensure, it kind of goes across the board. So if you need any assistance or questions there, happy to help. If you want to reach out to Abby with success. Absolutely.
Thanks, Shauna. Another question from her, is there currently development for an app for Android? Well, the good news is on an Android device, you actually don't have to have an app. This is pretty cool because it's a browser-based software, and because our video conferencing technology is actually made by Google, you can actually just log on Google Chrome on your Android device at portal.wecounsel.com, log in with your regular password and email, and have access to all of the same tools that you have access to on your browser. So your video conferencing, your messaging, your client files. If you're on an Android device, if you're on a Chromebook, just log on through Google Chrome. We may develop a Chrome app in the future, but it's not being worked on right now because you already have that capability because of the browser-based video conferencing. Anything to add to that?
No, I'd say that it's not off of our radar. It's something that we will be working on probably later this year.
Awesome. Michael says, sorry he's late. Will this be available later? Yes. If you're just coming in and didn't hear the beginning piece of the presentation, we're going to send a follow-up email to everyone who registered, giving you a copy. We're recording, so don't say anything crazy. I'll email you tomorrow probably with a copy of this. Shauna says, in regard to improving existing features, ooh, this is getting exciting. Let us know what you want. I just wanted to comment that I'm very hopeful that there will be some major changes to the scheduling calendar feature, particularly in regard to how we set availability, as well as to the messaging. Thank you.
Yeah, these are perfect examples of features that we released as kind of version 1s that we wanted to get out the door, get provider feedback, and then iterate on them in the future. And that's actually what we call an agile development approach. That's best practice for developing software. And we did that purposefully to get your experience. So we put that out there. What I understand from the availability is that we need more, we need time increments that are more conducive to a therapist schedule.
Right.
Half hour, on the hour, and you can't choose anything in between. There's a couple other shortcomings in the availability feature that we're very much aware of and have in our development queue today. As far as messaging, I was just talking with our product manager about this earlier this week. We definitely will be releasing several enhancements to the messaging tool. Just as a sneak peek, we are going to add the messaging center, the messaging tab, to every client file, so you can access specific threads for every client in the client file. We're also going to be changing the UI of how messaging works in the first place to make it a little bit easier to coordinate, organize, and even read. So to look more, a little bit more like texting with your phone as opposed to how it looks today. So there's going to be a UI facelift there as well. And after that, group messaging.
And in case you're not a techie like me, I'm not really a techie, and you don't know what UI means, it means user interface, which is how you work with the software. Harrison sometimes gets a little crazy and thinks everyone knows the stuff he knows. But Shauna, if you have specific feedback that you'd love to give us, I'm going to be sending an email to you. I would love to hear your thoughts. We are constantly giving feedback to our product team. I personally know that there are some things that are highly requested about our calendar. So I'd love to hear if your thoughts are in line with that, and if they are, it'll only help to strengthen our direction.
Yeah, and now is the time really, Shauna, because we're really putting pen to paper on exactly how our 2.0 versions of this are going to work. So feel free to share.
Awesome. Next question is from Sherry. Sherry says, how many therapists or providers do you have in your system? How many states are represented? Well, we have every state represented in our system. There are at least 22 providers in each and every state. And overall, and that's in the directory alone, overall in the entire software, I think Harrison can tell you how many providers we have.
Yeah, it's about 2,600 providers. We divide our business into two basic product lines: private practice and enterprise. And so the private practice today, it's around 1,500. Enterprise, 1,100 or thereabout. And the directory specifically, we're at about 400 providers.
Okay, Sherry also would like to know, she says she met Harrison at a conference several years ago. Congratulations on all your progress.
Sherry, what conference was it?
Well, we'll wait to hear back from Sherry while we go on. Michael, says, bless you. Thank you so much. That was very sweet. It looks like we're out of questions. I can't believe it. But Sherry, we'll wait to hear back from you. Hopefully you can tell us what conference you were at. Anyone else have any questions, would like to say anything, feedback about the product? What features do you want to see? What enhancements would you like to see to the existing features? What are your thoughts on scheduling and messaging? What's the most important thing to you? What would make the experience just amazing for you and your clients? We'd love to hear all of that. Okay, it looks like Sherry has an answer. She says, Society of Counseling Psychology. She's the founder of TAO.
Yeah, it's from Florida.
How dare you not remember, Sherry?
Yes, I remember this very well, actually. That program turned out nicely, I think.
Robert has asked, are you COPPA compliant?
Informally, but we have not undergone a third-party assessment or audit of that. So we try to stick to HIPAA compliancy. We take great pains to make sure that we do bring in third parties to make sure we're constantly in sync with what we need to be doing there and improving on our current systems and operations. We're aware of COPA, we're aware of high tech. Informally, we abide by those standards, but we just don't take a third party and tell us that yes, indeed, you're doing that.
Michael says he works in a sleep apnea area. Any insights? Sleep apnea. Are you wondering how you could use telehealth to treat sleep apnea?
Yeah.
Any thoughts on that, Harrison?
That's interesting. You know, honestly, I think, you know, when you boil it down, what I like to do is when I'm talking about potential use cases, I like to talk to the person and say, what are your desired outcomes? What are you doing today? What are you not doing that you want to be doing? And I like to understand what your workflow is. And, you know, today versus your Envision one using telemedicine, and it comes down to workflow. So if I can understand what that is, we can help you apply Wecounsel software to benefit your practice. So that's something that is very common that we do as a rule on enterprise side of our business, and that's just part of our consultative services that we offer when we are looking to partner with potential prospects that are looking at the software. So
yeah, so Michael says he has a practitioner that they want to use the platform with, and asking if we can facilitate. Michael, I'm going to set you up with one of our best, most knowledgeable enterprise guys, and let them, you know, kind of understand a little bit more about what it is that you're trying to accomplish, how you want that practitioner to utilize, what you're thinking, what your thoughts are, and they're going to be really creative and help you find a solution for some of your workflow gaps, or maybe enhance your existing workflow with telehealth. I will email you today with that individual's information and connect you to, okay? Debbie says, any plans for any type of onboarding of providers, i.e. licensure verification, malpractice coverage, business agreement for providers, etc.? It looks like she started to type a little bit more, but Debbie, if you finish that thought, let us know. Harrison, go ahead.
yeah, so you will see a few additional ancillary services rolling out with relation to the directory in the next month or two. One of those will be license verification. So that'll be an optional service that we'll provide. If you do opt to do that, we will verify annually that it is valid and in good standing. There'll be a small fee each year, you know, to coordinate that. And then, assuming that all goes through appropriately, you're actually going to receive a badge on your profile listing that says that your license has been verified. And we're really encouraging this. So if you do have that badge, then you're going to rank higher relative to anyone else in the directory, given your plan. So if you're in the preferred plan and you've got 10 other folks that are in your state that are in the preferred plan and you're the only one that has a verified license, you're going to show up at the top of that search result every time. So we want all of our providers to do this, and you know, hopefully we can together increase the legitimacy of the Wecounsel directory, let them know that we've done their homework and that you providers are you know, certified, bona fide, best of breed, best in class providers. So that's actually one of our ancillary services. The second is we really want to encourage folks that if they sign up for the directory, that's great. We also, when you get a client referral, we want you to be prepared to accept that and to use the software to do so. So we want you to be proficient in your knowledge and understanding of how to use Wecounsel. So there's going to be another badge. If you attend Wecounsel University, either with Wecounsel, we do this daily. We're going to do an hour-long training, answer any of your questions, feedback. We'll give you a badge if you do that. And then the last is if you get distance counseling certified through one of our recommended partners, then you're going to also get a badge there. So the more badges that you have, there's 3, the higher you will rank, and these services will be rolling out sequentially in the next 2 to 3 months.
And to address your question about a business agreement, we provide a business associate agreement to every single one of the providers who signs up. The moment that you sign up for our platform, you have to agree to the terms of service, and in that terms of service is our business associate agreement. If you want to download a copy of this for your records, it's already signed. You can go to our website, www.wecounsel.com. Scroll all the way down to the bottom of the page, and in the footer you'll see terms and conditions. Click on that, open it up, and you'll see the terms. Download those, and at the very bottom is the business associate agreement. If you have any trouble finding it, just email me and I'll send you a copy of it. But we don't charge any extra for that, and that comes with your subscription because we want you to be HIPAA compliant. Michael just says, great, awesome. Sherry has followed up. Lovely. I'd love to talk with you later and catch up. We have a high need to connect students who use TAO in college with therapists using TAO after they graduate. We get requests every week.
Yep, that's a natural progression there. Yeah, sure. Let's do that. Do we have Sherry's contact info?
Sherry, if you want to email me your contact information, I'll make sure to get it to Harrison. I'm going to be sending this follow-up email, so just shoot me over an email after you get that follow-up. Question from Brett. I'm starting out in telehealth. How many use insurance for counseling on Wecounsel, and how many pay without insurance?
If they're using Wecounsel, I would say the majority are using self-pay. Well, mainly because, one, we can track that within our system, so we know exactly how much billing volume that we're doing daily, weekly, monthly with self-pay. We do offer a super bill component for our private practice solution, where you can enter an ICD-10 code and the other applicable information to export that and seek reimbursement offline. Unfortunately, we don't have statistics on how many providers do that, but it is an option, of course. Mm-hmm. Eventually we hope to hone in our insurance eligibility check and claims tool so that you can actually submit all within the platform and manage that via Wecounsel instead of having to export it out. So actually still piloting it with some of our closer enterprise clients, kind of working out how we're going to support that and take it to market with our private practice audience. So, as far as which insurers reimburse and which ones don't, and at what rates, and where does the patient need to be, or does this licensure in the state get reimbursed? Is it full or is it half? Is there parity, et cetera? There's all sorts of questions that need to be asked, and we're also happy to help you navigate those waters. If you want to reach out to Success Offline, we have a number of resources that can help you there. We don't have the answer, we'll point you in the right direction. Our general rule of thumb is just the best way to know is to try it. Submit a claim to your insurance company. It just has to be one, and let's hear what their reaction is, and then we'll go from there. But you can always call them. You can come to us, and we can give you guidance as well.
Yeah, everything is very, very new still with insurance claim submission and telemedicine. We've gotten notification from several payers that they pay in all 50 states. Does that mean your license type will get paid? Exactly. You're never going to know until you submit that claim. So reach out to us if you have more specific questions about yourself and your state, and we'll try and find some information for you. We've got some really good resources that keep the legislation up to date so that you can find that information out. Shauna says, any ideas on adding a space for clients to leave testimonials on provider profiles? That's a good question.
That is a good question. That's a new suggested feature that we haven't considered, I'll be honest. I like that idea. We have not obviously thought that through. That is interesting. I think the closest thing that we've thought to do around that concept is a rating system.
Mm-hmm. Like a 5-star ranking or something. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so that's a good point. I'd love to be able to incorporate something like that. It makes it a little bit more tangible. You can add detail to the reviews, add a comment, etc. So that point is well taken, and I think we're still kind of in the early stages of deciding what and how we're going to do that.
I think we're going to have to talk about hiring Shauna for our research and development team.
Yeah, great asset.
Amanda says, I like the YouTube videos about how to navigate the portal. I watch them and also refer new clients to watch them so they can feel comfortable navigating within the site before our first session. That is awesome to hear. Thank you so much. I'm glad you're using those because we spent a lot of time making them. So it's nice to hear that someone is using them. Amanda, I would love to hear where you're accessing those videos. Are you getting them straight from YouTube, or are you getting them in the resources section of the guide at the bottom of your screen? Knowing that would be very, very helpful to me so that we can position them correctly and put them in the right place so that you can find them. If you don't know, there's a little guide at the bottom of your portal when you log in, and there's tons of videos and helpful walkthroughs, and you and your clients have access to that. So totally suggest you find those and use them because they're really helpful. Thanks, Amanda. Leslie says, IntelliBehavioral Health Institute, one of your partners for distance certification.
They are. They're going to be our primary partner when we roll out that feature. So Marlene is a long-term friend of mine, and I've known her since really I got started, and so she'll be kind of heading that up later this year. And so we're going to host her, and one of our webinars is probably going to be September, October, where we're going to announce this, and everyone is going to be welcome to tune in. That's going to be a free webinar where we're going to kind of lay the groundwork, give you a taste, and I really look forward to having everyone there. Hopefully, some of you already know Marlene and know of her. If you've already gotten certified or trained through her program, you're ahead of the game, and you'll just need to let us know once we release that service.
And if you haven't, we're going to be offering discounts, so look out for that. It's going to be a pretty significant discount for providers who want to get certified. So
yes.
We'll be letting you know. Email, webinar invitation, all over the portal. When that happens, you will know. Michael says, I have docs who want to do telemedicine. Okay, Michael, he's a sleep apnea guy.
Mm-hmm.
I have docs who want to do telemedicine but don't want the setup and management details. They just want their schedules. It is easy to lead my doctors and let me handle the management. So I think what he's saying is he wants to be an administrator, handle all of the back end, back office, front office, every kind of office stuff, and just let the docs check in for their session.
Yeah, sure. Sure. I mean, in that, Michael, is a really common use case and something that we really harp on, actually, when we do demonstrations for enterprise solutions. And so the main difference there is the enterprise solution has a separate side of the software, which we call the administrative portal. So you, being the administrator or someone in your office, can create users, associate patients to the appropriate provider. You can schedule sessions for both parties. And at that point, all you need to do, or all the provider rather needs to do, is simply log in and check into the session that's already been scheduled and put in front of them. It's very, very easy, and when we encounter companies that have problems getting providers to adopt, we really pitch the administrative-centric workflow, putting the burden on that on those guys instead of the providers, especially in the early days while the providers still get used to it, figuring it out. Is really important, and I think it's a great short-term solution to success, and hopefully over time we can work with you to get the providers to adopt it and use the software in other ways.
Yeah, my background is in healthcare and practice administration in a hospital setting, and so I feel your pain. I know exactly what it's like to try and get providers to learn a new system. It's not easy. And they would even go so far as to wanting me to log in for them and open up the client file for them. So I hear what you're going through. Our enterprise tools are going to help you do that. And like I said, I'm going to set you up with one of our guys so that you can do a demo and kind of show you what that would look like. Sherry shared her phone number, so let's call Sherry when we're done. And by let's, I mean you call Sherry when we're done.
Okay.
Leslie says testimonials can be a double-edged sword, and ethical code APA is not to solicit them from patients. Yeah. It could be, we would definitely have to look into that, as it's not something that we've really vetted out yet. It could be anonymous, you know, and maybe something they can leave if they want to, but we don't ask them. But we'd love to hear your thoughts on that, Leslie, if you want to send me over some information on that regulatory guidance. We always try and look at all the regulatory guidance before we launch a new feature, so thanks for pointing that out. Shauna says, sounds good. She wants to come work for us. Sounds good. Amanda says, from YouTube, I subscribe to the Wecounsel on YouTube site. That's great. That's great to hear. We do have a YouTube page where we post all kinds of new videos. You can also access all of those videos in your training guide at the bottom of the screen. It'll be right there. It's a little blue and black training guide. Michael says, great. Leslie says, if you added testimonials, I would want an option to opt out of them from my profile. Great point. Great point. Ask Marlene about testimonials. Yeah, you're right. She's probably going to know the answer to that. She's the expert. You really got to talk to Marlene more. It doesn't look like we have any more feedback, questions, and we're just about out of time, actually. So this was a lot of fun. Thank you guys so much for coming. I'm going to be sending out an email. Like I said, all the people that I told you I would follow up with you, I will definitely do that today or tomorrow. Harrison, thank you so much. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you. Thank you all for joining today. I'll just leave with one thought. You know, I wanted to talk just briefly about what is Wecounsel, what do I want Wecounsel to become, and you know, where are we going to take Wecounsel directionally? You know, at the end of the day, we really want Wecounsel to become a hub for online counseling, both from a provider perspective, those that use the software for the practices to conduct sessions, but also as a source for folks that need help to come and find the right provider and the right solution for them. And so now we're going to be growing both sides of the coin, so to speak. And over time, hopefully, Wecounsel becomes a household name for online counseling, and immediately will pop to mind when folks are talking about that subject. And hopefully, one day, every provider will have Wecounsel in their back pocket if and when they need to use telemedicine or want to use it to supplement their practice. And so we will continue to work on that goal tirelessly, and we really appreciate your support.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for coming. Have a great day.
Thank you all.